Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerized. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States. Mike Pounds.
Around the nation, TYT Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you. Welcome to the show. I got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about, of course, Ivanka Trump promoting beans. You know, musical fruit, apparently. She is using her position to promote canned beans. Perhaps this is a view into what she plans on doing after the election, maybe like a job, sort of like a job interview, I guess. Next spokesperson for Goya beans. Interesting. Fun times. We're going to talk about that. And of course, the fact that it's an ethical disaster. Of course, I'm not just meaning Ivanka Trump, but the entire Trump administration is an ethical disaster. Then we're also going to be talking about them trying, the administration attempting to cover up COVID-19. We've got Mary Trump, the first interview with Mary Trump from, or I should say with George Stephanopoulos. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how the Trump administration is trying to undo progress in stopping pipelines, Keystone XL, Dakota Access, all that stuff. He's trying to basically reverse the administrative review portion of the environmental laws. We're going to dive into that. That's a disastrous story. And if we've got time, of course, we'll talk about how Senate Democrats, the establishment is crushing progressives, as always. So here we go. All right. So before we get into the stories, a couple of notable pieces of news, at least for one. And I get to play this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes Jeff Sessions. Down goes Jeff Sessions. It actually, well, not really down, but he lost. So he was against Coach Tommy Tuberville, who still sounds like a Thomas and Friends character. Tommy Tuberville. I mean, come on. But anyway, hey, look, Tommy Tuberville will be going up against Doug Jones in Alabama. So watch out for that. Look, if November is going to be a wipeout, like some people are saying, when it comes to Republicans, then Tommy Tuberville is, you know, it might be possible for him to lose. But Doug Jones, remember, is an establishment corporate Democrat. He's a very weak Democrat. And I think that he is very possible that Tommy Tuberville will take Doug Jones' seat. Again, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll have to look at like the polling when he starts to run in the general election. But all that stuff aside, Jeff Sessions, done. Jeff Sessions, as somebody said in the chat earlier, is now going to morph into a lobbyist. Because of course. So that's where they all kind of end up. But it is funny because Jeff Sessions basically got what he deserved. Remember, he left that Senate seat to go serve as Donald Trump's attorney general. And then he did everything that Donald Trump wanted him to, except for one very important thing. He didn't defend Donald Trump during the Mueller investigation. He actually recused himself. And that little tiny act of disloyalty, which again, he could have gone to prison for, because he was also implicated in talking with the Russian ambassador. I mean, that was enough. That was enough to have Donald Trump then completely renounce the first guy who actually supported Donald Trump's presidential bid. This is back during 2015, right? Where Jeff Sessions risked his career to say, oh, no, I'm with Donald Trump. I'm going to support Donald Trump and then, lend my name to him, all that stuff. And this is, of course, how it ends up. Take note, Republicans who have supported President Trump. Take note, because what happened to Jeff Sessions could very well happen to you. Not only that, another piece of notable news. And again,
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
down goes Kanye. Down goes Kanye West. Yes, apparently a little worried about nothing. I admit that. Kanye West has dropped out. Kanye West is no longer running for president. Boy, that was a quick turnover. It's almost as if he took his meds a couple of days afterwards and was like, oh my God, no, I don't want this. So no, it looks like they were actually trying to get themselves on the ballot, but because it's Kanye West and he doesn't exactly know what he's doing when it comes to politics, he found that he was a little bit too late to get on the ballot on most states, and so decided to drop it. And so goodbye Kanye West, goodbye Jeff Sessions. Those are at least two people that we will be saved from being in politics. And so, yeah, interesting stories to start the day on. So now let's get into how Donald Trump is trying to block the CDC, or is actually blocking the CDC now, from being able to report on accurate information about coronavirus. Oh, as a lot of you also know, Lindsey Graham, will he be next? Tune in to see what happens to Lady G. All right. Last week, the Trump administration quietly ordered hospitals to bypass the CDC and to now send COVID-19 data to the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, the New York Times first broke this story, and on Tuesday reported that the HHS database was now positioned to collect daily COVID-19 information from hospitals, and also noted that that information is not open to the public. So now it's going to a place where people will not be able to access that COVID-19 data unless they had gotten approval from the administration. And so the New York Times notes that that could affect the work of researchers, modelers, and health officials who rely on CDC data in order to make projections and crucial decisions when it comes to COVID-19. So again, normally the CDC, they receive that information from hospitals and they release it to the public, and they allow researchers to use that data but under the Trump order, they're not required to do that. Oh, great. So now the administration's new directive came in the form of a document that was posted online by HHS, headed up by Alex Azar. That's Donald Trump's appointee. As of July 15th, 2020, hospitals should no longer report the COVID-19 information in this document to the National Healthcare Safety Network site. That's, of course, refers to the CDC's data gathering system. Now, what would be the benefit of making that change? Well, now the administration says, well, we're just streamlining the information. That's all we're doing. We're going to streamline it, and it's going to make it more efficient. It's going to make it better. But wait a minute. I don't believe you. I'm not buying this garbage whatsoever. To me, it seems like putting it under the domain of a political appointee at HHS and then making it so the data does not have to be public seems like an effort to hide the numbers. Just saying. Now, HHS said that going forward, hospitals should report detailed information on a daily basis directly to their new centralized system, which is managed by Teletracking, a health data firm with headquarters in Pittsburgh. So that is a private health data firm, by the way. So instead of going to the CDC, it's going to a private corporation. Awesome. That's fantastic. Great. Now, HHS spokesperson Michael Caputo confirmed in a statement to NBC that the CDC will no longer control coronavirus data collection, but said the agency will still participate in the process. So when you look at the framing and the phrasing that they're using, the CDC is not going to control the information. Well, that means you're going to control the information. Again, that's Caputo and Alex Azar are Trump's political appointees. So you're basically putting it under the auspices of people that directly report to Donald Trump. And their jobs are also on the line when it comes to Donald Trump, right? Or he can make it so that they don't have their jobs anymore. Fascinating. So there's, again, that's the problem, right? Coronavirus has become a political issue. Remember, you've got Donald Trump, you got the president saying that we should have less testing, that he doesn't like testing because it turns out the more that you test, the higher the numbers of people infected with coronavirus. Now, I don't know if the idiot looks at it and says, well, obviously more testing means more positives, and that's bad, right? Or he's just saying like, well, I know it's bad, and I know that there are more people getting sick, but I just want to hide the numbers politically. Again, he's a stupid person. So maybe he thinks somehow if we don't test, that means that there's not any additional coronavirus cases. Again, he's a stupid person. So I don't know for sure. With any other president, even with George W. Bush, like I didn't think he was that stupid. Donald Trump, I don't know. I just don't know. So at the same time, since we know the president is openly saying, well, I don't want the numbers to get bigger, well, then how can we trust the HHS to actually report the numbers? I mean, right now we rely on the CDC's numbers, which are public. Making this change is super, super unsettling. And there's a lot of officials that are basically echoing that statement. For example, Dr. Nicole Lurie. Now, she served under President Barack Obama's HHS and told the Times that centralizing control of all data under the umbrella of an inherently political apparatus is dangerous and also breeds distrust. It appears to cut off the ability of agencies like CDC to do its basic job. Well, of course. Wouldn't that be the point? I mean, that seems to be the point here. Yes, to make it so it's harder to do their job so that the president does not look bad when bad numbers are reported. That doesn't mean that there's less coronavirus cases happening. It's just that we're not going to be able to know about it. So they're operating by, well, if you don't see that it's happening, then it's not happening. Look at that. Now reelect me. I mean, this is sick and disgusting. So now, Administration officials, while they portrayed this order as part of an attempt to streamline, health experts have been alarmed by the move, given Trump's public attacks on the CDC and complaints about how the recent surge in coronavirus makes us look bad. Dr. Eric Feigl-Ding, who's an epidemiologist, says this makes him speechless. He said the Trump White House is now muzzling, bypassing, and kneecapping the CDC. No other way to spin this. Dr. Leana Wen, visiting professor at the Milken Institute of Public Health at George Washington University, said in an interview on MSNBC late on Tuesday, the decision to cut the CDC off from crucial COVID-19 patient data could undermine the U.S. response to the pandemic as infections surge across the nation. Well, that is the last thing that we should be doing. Why are we undermining ourselves? Or I should say, why are we allowing the government to undermine us? Because we are the ones that are affected here. I mean, it's amazing how corrupt and criminal this entire administration is. Now, the CDC, this is according to Wen, is supposed to analyze data coming from different regions of the country. I'm deeply concerned about what we've seen with the attacks on science and public health in recent days, because public health hinges on public trust. And when politicians, including the top public official, the elected official of our country, President Trump, start attacking public health, it really undermines all of our local, state, and federal response to this pandemic. But understand that, like, undermining science and the public trust in government and media, as well as the sciences and education, that is the Republican goal. Now, Donald Trump doesn't have an overall ideology. I've told you this before, right? The only governing philosophy of Donald Trump is, how does it help Donald Trump? How does doing this help Donald Trump? Now, in this case, basically hiding the data makes Donald Trump look better. Looks like he's more competent, looks like he's stopping coronavirus. And so that looks good for him. For the Republicans, it's, I guess, more sinister, right? Because they generally don't believe in the science. It contradicts their religious worldview in some cases. And I'm not saying, of course, that all religions or all religious people do this. It's just there is a fervent section of the religious right that tries to be immune to all facts. Now, that said, they're definitely not immune to this virus. And so it's going to affect people. It's going to hurt people in the long run. And that's why it's absolutely dangerous. And again, Donald Trump himself has, because this virus has proved him wrong plenty of times. Remember, he said it'd be going away by the summer. Guess what? It's still actually here. And he was even bragging about how the United States has few deaths. Oh, look at the other countries. They suck so much. In America, we barely have any deaths. And then, well, now we have 137,000. That's deaths. 4 million cases in this country. And so we actually lead the world in coronavirus cases and deaths. And this is without adequate testing, which we still do not have. I mean, look at Florida. Their cases are exploding. You've got Texas, Arizona, Florida, gigantic hotspots. And this is all a result of Donald Trump and the rest of the right wing, including Fox News and media, that are downplaying this virus. And look, I don't know how many times I've heard misinformation like, oh, it's just a flu, don't worry about it. Really, it's not a flu. Okay, it's not. This is not the same as the common cold. It's not the same as the common influenza. It's not. Oh, but it's got a 99.7% survival rate. No, it doesn't. No, and actually, the mortality rate is actually about 4%. That is way higher than the flu and the common cold. That's disastrous. And not only that, but look, if you contract coronavirus and survive, which most people do, right? Well, a lot of people who have survived have reported lasting damage to their lungs, to their heart. They've even suffered strokes, neurological damage. And so you have that happens as well. That doesn't get talked about enough. And so it's a nasty virus. And when you downplay this, and when you also try to restrict the data on who is infected and how many people are infected, the big hotspots in the country, well, that's going to lead to even more death and destruction. However, I think they're going to use these inaccurate numbers now, since they're not going to have to be reported by the CDC, and instead be hidden and therefore more easily manipulated. That's going to lead to the right-wing narrative of, why don't we just open up the country now? We've beaten coronavirus, open up the country, open up the economy, send the kids back to school, full well knowing that we do not have a handle on this virus. And now you're putting all these people in danger, and it's going to lead to a massive loss of life in this country. And it's all for political reasons, by the way. And interestingly enough, that's exactly what the right wing says about this. Oh, the Democrats just want to keep the country closed, and they're talking about this virus. It's all just media hype, and it's all just political. To take down Donald Trump. No, it's not. That is absolute projection. They are masters of it. And here's the thing about that, right? If we had a Democratic president right now during the age of coronavirus, you don't think that the right wing would be like, I can't believe this Democratic president would allow so many deaths under coronavirus. Oh my God, horrible. In fact, they did that to Obama, for example. They criticized him for Ebola, for the several deaths that happened here, with the Ebola virus, and also with swine flu. By the way, 200,000 people died globally from H1N1, swine flu. The United States alone with coronavirus will pass that very, very soon. And of course, the Republicans would scream and howl about this, about, oh, I can't believe the Democratic administration would fail so much. We must now launch 50 investigations into it. It's all political to them. It's all political to them, all a way to try to get power. It's amazing. Now, look, another, I guess, example of that is, right, where you had gigantic protests in places like, for example, Michigan, against a Democratic governor for doing basically the same things as some Republican governors. And they did not have massive protests that included people, walking around with their guns and the Proud Boys and all that stuff, trying to, basically intimidate the administration into opening up the state. Hey, who's actually has the best coronavirus response in the country? The fewest cases? Michigan, under Gretchen Whitmer. The same. We actually did what was necessary, and we're reaping the benefits from it. Rest of the country needs to get their asses in gear. So, that said, let me give one more quote here. This is from, four former CDC directors. And this was in a Washington Post op-ed on Tuesday. And they said that, quote, no president ever politicized the CDC science in the way that Donald Trump has. Trying to fight this pandemic while subverting the scientific expertise is like fighting blindfolded. It is not too late to give the CDC its proper role in guiding this response, but the clock is ticking. These former CDC directors were Tom Frieden, Jeffrey Copeland, David Satcher, and Richard Besser. And in a column for Esquire on Tuesday, Charles Pierce urged hospitals to ignore Trump's directive and, quote, send the data to the CDC anyway, writing, it's time for hundreds of little rebellions. You know what? I'm not against that idea. We might have to, because lives are literally on the line. Because the president and his followers have decided that reality is inconvenient to them, inconvenient to their political aspirations, and therefore the bad numbers about coronavirus must be suppressed. They are not politically correct. This is exactly what political correctness is, by the way. This does not look good for the politicians and for the administration. So we're going to change it. We're going to manipulate it. And we're going to give out, politically correct answers. Like Donald Trump is doing great on coronavirus. We're doing the most testing in the world, right? We're doing the best. All the other information is fake news. No, that exactly is political correctness. And the administration is engaging in it right now. We need to fight against that in order to save people's lives. And also, if we want to actually be able to reopen the country someday, and resume business and get people back to work and get people back to some semblance of a normal life, then we're going to have to find some way to get around Donald Trump and his ignorant followers and have people actually be able to see the truth. Okay. What a complete disaster. So we're going to come back with Ivanka Trump and her beautiful bean footage that she put up on social media. And then we've got some of the interview with Mary Trump coming up next. And then more stuff for you guys as well. So stay right here around the nation. We'll be back in a minute.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Mike Pounds.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
Welcome back to the show. Around the nation right here, TWT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. All right, so fun times. Thank you, Prene. That's a funny image. A lot of people have been taking to Photoshop for Ivanka and her beans, which is great. Anyway, so we got a couple of super chats here that I want to read first. Dango Bengal says, Jeff Sessions has now evolved into a lobbyist. Yes, I know I got that quote wrong. Supposed to be a Pokemon reference, but I butchered it. It just makes me think of, by the way, one of my little cousins, when it first came out, right, Pokemon stuff, he was big into it, right? I just remember my mom, she's and getting him a gift, right? She's like, I got him the Pokemon. I don't know why that's funny. It's just the way that I know I say old people. I am old people. But just saying this. Oh yeah, I got him the Pokemon. Hopefully he likes that. I'm sure. Old people are funny sometimes. Anyway, moving on. Anonymous says, Anonymous says, I saw the pic of Trump's cognitive tests and thought, ooh, this is a bit much. Or I should say he did. Meaning Jeff Sessions, I'm assuming. Yep, Pokemon. Glad you skipped out on Pokemon. It's gone downhill. Yeah, never really got into that. Okay. Dango Bango says there's no coronavirus in the United States. The president invited you to Lake Laogai. Trump administration. Oh, Jesus. Here we go. All right. Channel members Jeanette Rice and Kenyon Bunny, thank you for signing up. Support independent progressive media. You guys get the full audio podcast now in the members only section. So that's with like all the breaks cut out. So you can just go and just listen to it. Kind of cool, kind of convenient. Going to Patreon now, patreon.com/TPTNation. I want to thank, Daipool Anurunta and Lucarian V. So thank you for signing up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That's how you can support independent progressive media. All right. So let's get into the stories. Let's have some fun. Ivanka's beans. Mega beans. Jesus. I was going for magic beans, just in case you were wondering about that. Apparently, conservatives are trying to own the libs by eating lots of beans. Well, I guess, I would feel pretty owned if I were standing next to them after eating all those beans. Well, whatever. That's not what I mean. Ivanka Trump decided that she would join in the fun with other conservatives who were buying up Goya brand beans. And so she posted a picture of herself on social media, like so. Boy, that almost looks like an advertisement that you would see on a billboard. If it's Goya, it has to be good. I don't know about that one. So now look, this is in response to Goya Food CEO Robert Unanu recently sparking outrage by praising Donald Trump at the White House. In fact, he'd been invited to the White House to promote Hispanic businesses and said, "It gives me great honor. We're truly blessed at the same time to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder." And says that we pray for our leadership, our president, and we pray for our country that we will continue to prosper and to grow. Look, Donald Trump, a builder? Are you kidding me? No. People pay him not to build buildings, right? A lot of where Donald Trump gets his money is from licensing out his name to buildings that already exist. Donald Trump hasn't built anything in decades because the things that he has built have gone bankrupt. The man has gone bankrupt 6 times. Right. He's got like the Midas touch, except that everything he touches turns to crap. Almost in a literal sense. But okay. So now, following that, there's some well-intentioned liberals that recently launched a boycott of Goya. So, look, in reality, it's a fairly small number of people, but just hearing some people on social media boycotting Goya beans, that immediately activates the brain trust at Fox News and all the conservative outlets that are like, "Oh my God, can you believe the liberals are boycotting a Hispanic business? Ooh, oh, we got to get on that. Ooh, call out that liberal hypocrisy." right now. And so, well, that's exactly what they did. So now the thinking goes that if you're basically endorsing Trump and saying, and that's what a lot of people took it as, is like, oh wow, our president, wow, what a builder, what a great person. Well, if you're endorsing him, then you're endorsing his ideas, right? His ideas being building a wall and making Mexico pay for it, family separation at the border, in case anybody had forgotten that we're locking up children in cages, and also insinuating that all Mexicans, or at least most of them, are rapists that are bringing crime into America and drugs. Although some we assume are good people, right? So that message doesn't exactly sit well with people. That endorsement doesn't sit well with some people, and so they decided that they were going to vote with their wallets, which is a actually perfectly reasonable thing to do. If you don't want to buy the beans, then don't buy the beans. Pretty simple, right? And so people have the right to consume or buy the things that they want, or not buy the things that they don't want if they don't happen to agree with the politics of the owner. That's fine. So I said reasonable, right? Now that doesn't mean that this is all effective, whatever, right? But it's basically nothing more than being able to take your own personal principled stance. And that, of course, is freedom. Now, the owner of Goya, the CEO, I should say, doesn't agree. He thinks that it's a suppression of free speech. Take a look.
Hey, Bob, are you getting a boycott? That's what I've heard, because you had the audacity to show up at the president's invitation and say some positive things about him.
You know, Brian, yes. It's suppression of speech. In 2012, 8 years ago, I was called by Michelle Obama to Tampa. And they were mentioning to launch a My Plate thing, which we put on. It's putting the nutritional pyramid into a plate of portion control. They wanted to approach the African-American community, the Hispanic community, to eat more nutritionally. So they called on us as the most recognized Hispanic brand in the United States, and I went. I went to the White House later, and I introduced in Hispanic Heritage Month, President Obama. And so you're allowed to talk good or to praise one president, but you're allowed, when I was called to be part of this commission to aid in economic and educational prosperity, and you make a positive comment, all of a sudden that's not acceptable. So, I'm not apologizing for saying, and especially if you're called by the President of the United States, you're going to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. No, thank you. I didn't say that to the Obamas, and I didn't say that to President Trump.
All right, so there's a cardinal mistake this man made, right? Basically saying that, well, I mean, look, Donald Trump's president, and Obama was the president. You're going to turn down the president, right? Well, it depends, right? Donald Trump isn't exactly a normal president. He's openly racist, openly xenophobic, openly sexist. All of this, negative stuff, said a lot of horrible things, and also has mismanaged this country into having the most coronavirus-related deaths and infections than the entire freaking world. He's a train wreck and a disaster. Are you really going to tie yourself to that? You would have gotten a lot more respect had you said, actually, no, I disagree with your stance on just about everything. Goya is going to take a principled stand here and say, no, we don't agree with you. Yes, we like Hispanic businesses. We're a Hispanic business. And we are interested in helping other Hispanic businesses. But we can't do it when there's somebody who thinks our culture and is allied with people who thinks that our culture is peasant culture, who thinks that our culture is inferior to the United States, and thinks that a lot of us are lazy and illegal and unmotivated and criminals and MS-13. We're not that. We're not that. And so, no, we're not going to ally ourselves with the president. So, no, I'm not going to take your freaking call. I'm going to hang up on you, and I'm going to say, I don't agree with this guy whatsoever. We are a proud Hispanic brand, and we're going to stand by not only our people, but the majority of the American people who don't agree with this racism. That's all I'm saying. Maybe he would have went with that and wouldn't have actually got his ass canceled. But look, I get it, right? From his position, he's like, what? I'm just trying to do something good, right? And meeting with the president, I mean, I met with Obama, so this is fine, right? But look, he doesn't like being boycotted against, and I understand that, right? Sure. But let me make things very clear. A boycott is not a suppression of your free speech. You can say whatever the hell you want. You can meet with Donald Trump as much as you want. You can go and say all the nicest things about him, right? And as a result, the free market can decide if it wants to cancel your ass. That is freedom. That is freedom of speech. That's what libertarians call the hand of the free market. If there's a company that does not represent your values, then you don't have to support that company. This is why I'm also in favor of BDS, at least when it comes to the goals of the BDS, right? To say that we don't support Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories and the treatment of Palestinian people in that territory. We don't agree with the illegal annexation of Palestinian land and the illegal building of settlements. And so what we're going to do is we're going to vote with our wallets to say that we don't agree with that. And so, of course, that's super, super controversial. Oh my God, how dare you try to, boycott BDS, or I'm sorry, boycott Israel and Israeli-made goods. Well, you must be an anti-Semite. Well, using that logic, if you boycott Goya beans, well, then you must be anti-Hispanic. No. So I'm saying that boycotts are free speech, and they are. Look, I'm perfectly fine with every Trump supporter that has decided to. How many things have they boycotted? They boycotted Nike. They boycotted what is it? Some brand of sports cooler that they set on fire. I mean, how many times have you seen MAGA guys burn their sneakers or anything that is even remotely liberal? So don't try to come at me with that that bullshit. Oh my God, hypocrisy. No, dude. Conservatives like nothing more than a good old-fashioned boycott where they either shoot something, burn something, or throw it away. Ridiculous, right? So that said, getting back to the free speech part, I wonder when Dave Rubin's going to drop by and be like, I support free speech. Yeah, we'll see what happens. For me, look, are you saying that we should be forced to buy products from companies we don't agree with? Because that would be totalitarianism. Just saying. But of course, the right wing loves that stuff. And so that goes right back to the Trump family, by the way, which cannot manage to not do something completely corrupt for 5 minutes. I mean, Ivanka Trump is literally advertising for this company, which is a violation of ethics laws. The Hatch Act, specifically. As a lot of journalists have pointed out, Rebecca Bauhaus says, federal officials are barred from using their office for the endorsement of any product, service, or enterprise. In 2017, Kellyanne Conway was counseled by the White House for promoting Ivanka Trump's fashion line during a live TV appearance from the briefing room. Sunny Hostin, co-host of The View, adds this: has your account been hacked, Ivanka? I sure hope so, because as a White House official, senior advisor, and all that, surely you know this is a federal ethics violation. I love how she's trying to help her out. Oh no, Ivanka, you got to say that you were hacked, or else you might get into a little bit of trouble. In reality, of course, is Ivanka Trump going to get in trouble? No, of course not. No, she's never going to get in trouble just because there are laws. Now, remember, who's running the country? Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not going to punish Ivanka Trump for anything. And so, unfortunately, that's never going to stick. But at the same time, what are you going to do? Other than make fun of her on social media, which, of course, a lot of people did. A couple of responses here. There's exactly zero chance that Donald Trump or Ivanka has ever stopped themselves as they approach the supermarket checkout and thought, oh, whoops, almost forgot the Goya beans. Are you kidding? You think Donald Trump or Ivanka Trump would ever step foot in a grocery store? If you do, hilarious. The president of the United States, remember, still thinks that you need ID to buy groceries. I mean, maybe if you're buying boxed wine like a Karen, sure. But for beans, no. No ID required. One more here from Benjamin Applebaum, who said, wow, it only took a day for Ivanka to reskill and find a new job. If you're unhappy or you're unemployed, find something new. That's Ivanka's advice from yesterday. So there you go. Let's hope that come November, she will end up in her new job as a full spokeswoman for Goya and nowhere near the White House. All right. Moving on. Let's get to Mary Trump. You can even see the family resemblance. And that's not a knock on her. It's just like they all pretty much have the same kind of look. She's definitely a Trump. All right.
And if you're in the Oval Office today, what would you say to him?
Resign.
That was President Donald Trump's niece, Mary Trump, on ABC News. Now, she was, of course, speaking with George Stephanopoulos about some of the revelations in her new book, not only about Donald Trump himself, but also about the family and how actually pretty dysfunctional they are. So now, Mary, of course, is the only Trump that's been willing to speak out against the president. And as a result, she was temporarily blocked from releasing her new book. So now that led, of course, a New York judge to weigh in on this, to litigate the case and lift a gag order on her. Now, in his ruling, Judge Hal Greenwald said that the non-disclosure agreement Mary Trump signed in 2001 with the Trump family following a financial settlement after her grandfather's death did not cover specifics, and that the eventual prominence of the Trump family could not have been understood at the time of its signing. So here's his quote on that. Too many words with too many meanings. The cost of the litigation that was settled should have been finalized with more specifics, more clarity, if the current situation was even comprehended at the time the agreement was signed. So basically, what he's saying is it was really vague. It didn't say that you couldn't write a book to talk about it, especially after the president, or I should say after one of the members of the family, would somehow fail upwards to become president. We didn't know. We didn't know that was going to happen. And look, some of the stuff that was revealed about Donald Trump, remember, Mary Trump was actually the source of the leaks when it comes to Donald Trump's taxes. And not just Donald Trump's, but also the Trump family. So the Trump family, of course, as she reported, employed tax schemes meant to cheat the government out of revenue. So, of course, we remember from that report where he would basically inflate his assets in order to get more loans from different banks. And then they would also deflate their assets in order to avoid paying excess taxes on those same properties. So that's tax fraud. Clear and simple. Gee, I wonder why the Trumps haven't been punished by doing tax fraud. Oh, right. For one, Democrat Richard Neal had actually stopped Congress from actually being able to get those tax returns at first. And now you have the Supreme Court that has blocked Congress, specifically the House investigators, from being able to access those tax records. Now, at the same time, the District of New York, under Cy Vance, will have access, but that's just in relation, of course, to Stormy Daniels. And so he'll be getting the last 8 years, or a span of 8 years, of tax returns from President Trump but only in order to look at that case to see whether or not Donald Trump had actually did campaign finance violations. Nothing to do with whether or not the Trumps did tax fraud. So understand that, right? So she revealed that, and now she's revealing other things. For example, how the president cheated on his SATs, how he's basically a fraud. He paid someone literally to take the SATs for him because he was too dumb and too lazy to do it in order to get into Wharton. And so now the White House has so far repudiated the book's claims, of course, as written clearly in the author's own financial self-interest, they said. And so, Mary Trump, she's just cashing in. Probably, yes. That's got to be part of it, right? But not only that, but there is some enmity from Mary Trump because the Trumps originally tried to hold her inheritance, as when her grandfather had died, Fred Trump Sr., he died, and the rest of the family basically fought over who would get his money. They had threatened, Donald Trump himself had threatened to withhold money from Mary Trump's son, who had a disability, or who has a disability, from getting his medical care. They threatened to basically withhold that cash to say, hey, unless you shut up and, forfeit part of your inheritance, then we're going to withhold medical coverage from your disabled son. Mary Trump had to sue. Part of that litigation led, of course, to that NDA. So there's that. So now, another thing that was repudiated was the president describing his relationship that he had with his father as, quote, warm, and said that his father was very good to him. This is according to White House spokeswoman Sarah Matthews, and then also said the absurd SAT allegation is completely false. Well, there's one way we could find out. Release the transcripts. Oh, we want to see the Donald Trump's transcripts from college. We want to see his SAT scores. Remember, before you think, hypocritical, right? Well, Donald Trump had also asked for Obama's not only birth certificate, but his college records as well. So totally fair game. I'm just saying. That said, I don't buy it that Fred Trump was a warm person. No, from what I read about him, he was ruthless. He was incredibly racist. And look, as far as Donald Trump's concerned, Donald Trump's been an embarrassment his entire life. How many times has Fred Trump had to bail him out personally because he made terrible investment decisions? Remember, Donald Trump's been bankrupt at least 6 times. So, and every time, I can imagine that conversation being, what did you do this time, you dummy? Oh, I can't believe you would invest in that, you loser. Just quit being such a baby. He's not a super genius. No normal person acts or talks like Donald Trump or calls himself the very stable genius or the best businessman in the world. Donald Trump's such a smart guy. Even talks about himself in the third person. Like, if I heard somebody talking like that, I think they're insane. I want them to be committed. But back to Mary, right? So now she talked about how since Donald Trump had everything basically handed to him and how he has always surrounded himself by yes men, never said no to him. Well, that's why he is one of the reasons he is the way he is. That's why one reason he's so incompetent. And that's why he also never takes responsibility for his actions and how actually dangerous that is. And finally, how unprepared and basically unfit for office Donald Trump is. And I want to show you some of that. Take a look.
You see the president in the Oval Office, and you tell him, don't let them get you down. Did you mean that?
I did, actually. That was 4 months in. He already seemed very strained by the pressures. He'd never been in a situation before where he wasn't entirely protected from criticism or accountability or things like that. And I just remember thinking, he seems tired. He seems like this is not what he signed up for, if he even knows what he signed up for. And I thought his response was actually more enlightening than my statement. And he said, "They won't get me." And so far, looks like he's right.
Look, she's right about that. There's no accountability. The buck never stops with Donald Trump. It's always somebody else's fault, right? As for being tired and not, this not being what Donald Trump signed up for, again, I believe it. I believe it. The guy was not prepared for this, never prepared for this, not up to the job, not even interested in doing the job. However, look, okay. I bought into the idea that this was a publicity stunt gone wrong, right? Just a way to, help him with his businesses, right? Get some notoriety, whatever, go and throw some bombs against Republicans and Democrats. Somehow he caught lightning in a bottle. Not sure how it happened. I mean, again, Hillary Clinton was an awful candidate, and so that's probably a big part of it, as I've explained before. But this was never meant to happen, this presidency. The Trump administration, again, this was a result of so many different factors that created a perfect storm of how, somebody like Donald Trump could get elected. Faux populism is part of it. He ran on some populist ideas. And so that definitely helped, especially when people were just sick of the establishment at this point. And so that's a big thing. And we can talk about all the different factors that really led to this one-time, freak of nature accident of Donald Trump getting elected. But, I mean, the decades of anti-intellectualism. Okay, that's the last point that I'm going to put in there. People not believing in facts and science, people worshiping celebrity, all that stuff, right? Whatever. Publicity stunt gone wrong, gone horribly wrong. But Donald Trump, he's got an ego that is just enormous. And his ego wouldn't let him back out, wouldn't let him quit once he started winning. And then he won, and he's like, well, I can't back out now. I would be a baby, a loser, very sad. And so as long as people believe in my excuses, that it's their fault, that it's someone else, that it's the radical left, that it's all this stuff, and has nothing to do with me or any of my failures, well, then I'm good. But that also leads into some of the other theories of maybe it'll get so bad that the possibility that he'll get destroyed in this next election by Joe Biden, of all people, right? Who could have thought that one coming? Because Joe Biden's essentially a crusty ham sandwich. Look, his ego wouldn't be able to handle it. And so that led some credibility to the possibility that he could maybe drop out if it gets that bad. I don't know. But I do know for sure is that if he doesn't take Mary's advice and resign, it's a very good possibility that he is going to get destroyed in November. We'll see what happens. All right. Comment here. All Donald Trump had to do to beat Hillary was not be Hillary. I mean, yeah. I mean, I've never seen a campaign so inept, an establishment campaign that was so out of touch and inept and just oblivious to everything that was going around him. The mood in the country that was anti-establishment. Even then, of course, Hillary did technically win the popular vote. She got 3 million more votes than President Trump. It's just that we have this system that somehow awards the people who get the most votes, or I should say the people who get the least votes, still somehow end up getting the presidency. a hard crusty out in the sun all day ham sandwich. All right. Look, I had a sandwich for lunch. Come on, guys. Seriously. Anyway, all right. Look, that's all I got time for today, unfortunately. So we didn't get through all the stories, but tomorrow, of course, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and how he's trying to undo the progress that we get in stopping Keystone XL, Standing Rock, and other pipeline projects. So we have that. We'll talk about that tomorrow, and we'll see if we can get to the Senate Democrats and how they're crushing progressives. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you. Love you guys. Appreciate you for joining in on the show. Please sign up to become a patron, patreon.com/TOATnation, and all that wonderful stuff. Thank you guys. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you guys later.
Mike Pounds. Tolerate.
Please clap.
Why? You're getting nervous, man. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.